I hit recording right as he did that gasp of hair. Oh, we're going to record. Yeah. We're going to record. I wore the wrong shirt because I thought we were talking about a monster that has something to do with eagles, but it's okay. We are going to talk
Oh, you're
about
American. I see.
elementals. Yeah, I'm an American elemental. Long may I reign. I am full of Coors Light and.
Isn't americium a mineral or an element? Americum or something?
Isn't it just
Now I
smelling?
gotta
Yes,
Google it.
element.
Well, isn't there like a whole thing too on like, I mean, talking about eagles, the elemental plane of air, isn't that where like there's a bunch of Aarakocra too?
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken.
I
American
think that's
Cobra, yeah.
Americocra?
Americocra. That's the actual way you pronounce it in the new D&D edition. Trust us, we got an early copy.
They drink Bud Light.
They drink Bud
gives them
Light.
wings.
They fly very loudly through the sky.
They go, ah!
They shoot fireworks off and blow each other up.
It's very fun. It's very fun.
It's very epic.
But yeah, talk about elementals. So I think we need to get it out of the way of just. I feel like elemental is a really broad term. What would you even classify as an elemental?
Elemental, like what do you mean?
Well, I guess like,
Oh,
no, like
yeah.
'cause I get in the sense of because there's a lot of stuff that has like weird, because in a way, like dragons, for example, dragons have like elemental energy to them,
Mhm.
but they're not really elementals. Like there's aspects of stuff where it's like elementals usually, I guess, at their base start to come off as these kind of weirdly mindless kind of amalgamations of just, I guess, like some, what would you even fucking classify it? Like, because it's like you have your general earth, wind, air, water. You know, you watched Avatar,
September.
September.
Yes, a blue people elemental.
Yeah, the big avatars.
The elemental
Um,
of James Cameron.
so I know in the Faerun lore, all elementals come from the outer planes, and instead of like having physical bodies there, most of them just are that element in this big pool of all the other guys that are also that element. So when you summon them, you're plucking like a star out of the sky, basically, and then they go back when they get frickin' killed.
Yeah.
I think that works with most outer plane creatures. Like everyone there gets save states,
Yeah.
where when they die in our plane, they just go back. We're the only ones who die,
That was
and
crazy.
and then we go there because those are afterlife. So that's interesting.
How would you feel? How would you feel if like somebody who goes into a plane that they're not supposed to be in, like a mortal human, they get killed and they're just randomly generated somewhere in the material plane? It's like, huh?
You just
You get EC, you get EC cards that you just respawn nearby. You're like, where am I? I got hit by a car, and it's like you're in Vegas, dude.
Yeah.
Is this heaven? Just fucking.
Your afterlife is just life. That would suck.
As a Southern American, I respawn to the closest Dollar General.
Mm.
It-
Those are your save points.
yeah, basically.
The doors just, you wake up to the doors opening and you step forward.
That's my loading screen. Actually, is just like random people in the parking lot telling me information.
Oh fuck.
It's your unconscious.
Yep.
So,
But what I meant by that is just because we talked about Jin last week, and no, it'd be 2 weeks ago from when this video is uploaded. But we talked about Jin, and they are technically elementals. But so then it kind of becomes vague. Like, what does it mean? Are you just elemental if you are born in an elemental plane? Because you have things like invisible stalkers are an elemental, but not an air elemental, and that's where it gets a little confusing to me.
it's just
You
a
know what
subcategory.
You know what fucks with me a lot? Are Chwinga.
Oh yeah,
Are
Chwinga.
elemental, but they feel like Fae.
Wait, which
They're
one?
like elementals of the plane that we're in. So where you have like the plane of earth, the plane of air, the plane of fire, the plane of water. They're like the material plane elementals, where they're kind of made of everything. It's super weird.
Yeah. But like, I think the thing that stands out to me so much about them is that they have so much like personality to them. Like, I guess it's the thing of, that's why elementals feel so odd to me at times, or just the fact that it's like usually they're kind of like these weird mindless things, or like not necessarily mindless,
Yeah.
but it's more like
And when they're summoned, like the classic elementals, just like constructs, they just start to go haywire.
Mhm.
They wreak havoc until their body's destroyed because they're in constant pain, sort of.
Yeah.
well, it's
Feels
even
weird to
even
be on
in
the.
talking about constructs, like fucking golems are activated by having a fucking elemental
Yeah.
usually lodged in them, so it's like that thing of just they're
Constructs generally are just prisons for elemental spirits.
yeah, uh-huh.
Mm. Yeah. Because that's what I'm talking about, where it feels like it's kind of a catch-all term, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
What, where
It's
there's,
really hard to approach, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why I figured we should nail down what exactly is, and that's kind of my idea of the definition. Is an elemental is someone that is native to an elemental plane,
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
fair. Yeah,
Mhm.
like because that kind of feels like how fiends, celestials, and demons. That's the only really difference to them. Well, devils
it's
and
just like a
demons.
regional term.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
So, if you're born in America and you move to the elemental plane of fire, and then you give birth, is your son technically
Well, they become a genasi.
like an American elemental? Oh yeah,
They become plane touched.
yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
being a
Huh.
genasi is basically having dual citizenship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Actually, yes, in this case.
Yeah, because we got to have the American tradition of just like as soon as your child comes out of the womb, you can be president. You can do anything.
You're president now. You're my little president. I love you.
You can run for president. You can do it. Anyone can do it. I tell you, son.
Fucking yeah, no, because there's I don't know. I always like the idea of the term like plain touch too, because that also like relates to anything that explains like tieflings would technically be considered plain touched because it's like fucking you have the connection to
Yeah,
Imbecile or like infernal plane.
Yeah, you touched by the darkness. Because I mean, they have Fey touched and Shadowfell touch, so it really feels like Elemental touch should be another category. Of that.
yeah. I was just thinking because like in Pokemon rules, you have the basic elements, and then grass is like a really common one.
Yeah.
Which I was trying to think, like, what if there was like a plant elemental that wasn't an earth elemental, and that would kind of just be like a life elemental.
I guess.
So you would have because you would have like light and dark sort of. I don't really know how to go about that.
It makes me
Let's
think
look
Figure
at the
that out.
wheel, because that should actually explain it. Is that one of the actual sub
oh,
wheels?
cheese.
Because there's
Those are like tiny layers between the planes, but they're not.
Because I mean,
there's
It's like a blanket on top. We're a lasagna.
there's been
Lasagna.
ideas. There's been ideas mixed in with that where it's like, because you have your basic like earth, wind, and fire kind of thing.
Yeah, then
But,
there's ice, marsh, smoke, magma, ash, vacuum, lightning, steam, mineral, and dust. Which the idea of a vacuum elemental is terrifying.
Yeah.
Why is steam and dust? What the Oh, because they're technically mixed.
Yeah,
technically.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Okay, that makes sense.
There's one where they have the Doritos, and then there's one where it's all like somebody turning on a dehumidifier.
Sour cream and onion. Oh, I see what you mean.
yeah, that's the real American elemental is just Cheeto dust.
I think
Gee,
Blood Edition
that'd
is
be
what
awesome.
kind of thought of like those weird like middle
The-
kind of things.
I think they're called border planes,
yeah.
like the border elementals, where these things start to mix.
I think
So
they started to call it like
Yeah.
the elemental chaos or something like that because it's just like fucking. It's just all a bunch of crazy.
the elemental chaos is a little different. That's
Oh, okay.
you have the material plane because it is a wheel and it like branches out.
Ooh. Big hole.
And then on top of the material plane, you have the Feywild, and on the bottom, you have the Shadowfell. And then surrounding that, you have the 4 base elemental planes that are touching its borders directly. Technically touching all 3 borders, which is kind of weird. And all their borders merge over. That's why when they all overlap, it's sort of like a quad state area that
Yeah,
manifests all of them. And the further out you go, fewer and fewer traces, because they're infinite planes. They go on forever. The further you get from the material plane, the more raw and complete that element kind of becomes, and it takes over. So all the elemental spirits that you're summoning come from the elemental chaos, I'm pretty sure, which is like the furthest out.
Yeah.
Like how Canada is just that little strip on the bottom of Canada because the rest is too cold to inhabit. That's where you get the genies and these like the Zorts or Zorns and all these weird pseudo elementals, because they're like reality touched, I guess. That's why they
Reality
move
touched.
around. Yeah,
You know, that makes sense, actually. I kind of like
they're
that.
grass touched.
Because that was also a question I even had in the, like, you get something called Zorns and Salamanders where they have a actual physical, tangible form.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's a good question if Azers are elementals or not.
Azers are
Azer?
elementals.
Yeah,
They are.
they come from the magma pools, a mix of earth and fire.
They're like
The magma
metal men that have like just basically like fire inside of them that
Yeah.
operates them.
And they are at war with the Ifriti, the fire genies.
Yes,
Really?
Because the fire genies were like, "Hey, you guys live in a forge and you're all made of forges. Can you please make us a big city?" And they made the entire city of brass. And the Ifrit were like, "Okay, goodbye, get out of
Shut
here."
up and forge a
Yeah.
forger.
And then they were done, and they're like, "Where's our payment? Where's our reputation?" And they're like, "No, you get a sword.
Bitch.
And they'll, fuck you, die."
Well,
So now
there's like, because they used to fucking like, if anything, that's a big reason why the salamanders hate Azers, because they have like, salamanders are now like,
do they have like a society? I thought they were like the pets of the Ifrit.
they do have, I mean, they're kind of like their own people, which is also
Oh.
like a whole other thing, because this again is like a weird thing of like some elementals have stuff like this, other elementals don't, but it's this thing of they kind of do have like their own kind of society thing going on, but they are controlled by the Ifrit. And salamanders hate Azers because they're like, you know, if it weren't for your dumbasses leaving here, we wouldn't be taking your place, basically. So
Yeah.
they fucking hate the
That's funny.
Azer.
Okay.
Salamanders are pretty cool looking too.
Yeah.
They're all like interesting. I like there are honestly like really cool elementals, like Zorn 2 are a big one where I like the idea of them. These like weird little like burrowing things eating jewels in the ground.
They just run around eating delicious gemstones.
Basically.
I like it. My favorite subgenre of like a type of monster and the narrative purpose that it serves in D&D are information brokers, where they just learn stuff and they're adjacent to all these other monsters that are enslaving or eating people, and they're just like, "Yeah, I know that guy has a super magic weapon because I can tell there's a little rock in it that he has that I want to eat."
Yeah. Like
That's something-
Zorns are really good at that.
I get that, because there's something fun I did where I have a Yugoloth who literally his only purpose is he's a shopkeeper that just comes to the party whenever they summon him with a magic, like a bell to like ring for shopkeeper.
I like that.
Yeah,
I remember just the first campaign that I did, I gave the party a magic ring where they could like trace a portal and open it to just this, basically the entire magic shop from the Dungeon Master's Guide. I was like, you guys can go there whenever you have money because I don't want to worry about it. It's fun to have those shops too.
that is fair. Also, the one I need to also say, the one I looked at earlier, it turned out I think that was just someone's like own like their own personal one. I think I found one that's more kind of accurate to the D&D wheel that actually includes the side ones, because most of the official ones don't really seem to include the border elemental planes anymore.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
because
Mario said it was because of the 4th edition,
fourth
right?
edition stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more fourth edition stuff, so they kind of threw it out. But it's interesting stuff. It's cool.
Oh, they just like fully got rid of it? I thought
Um,
they still show up in like the Cosmic Wheel and you can find stuff about them in 5th edition, but I guess there's not that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a ton on it.
I think they did a good job with those because I remember the plane between earth and water is like this infinite swamp, and it's a cool place to go because once you drop something or like intentionally leave an object in that muck, it goes down, and because down is forever, there's just an infinite wealth of like secret magic items and lost lore and cities that sometimes bubble up for a second and then go back down. So
Yeah,
you can have witches and stuff messing around in that area who just like fish out the weirdest, most ancient stuff.
Yeah,
infinite witch bog.
Yeah.
yeah, it's all fun stuff.
There-
And a friend of mine
Bubba, bubba,
actually,
bubba,
she's
bubba,
running her
yuggy, yuggy.
entire campaign in that setting, and she's done some unique stuff, and
Oh,
I really like it.
that's
Fuck
very
yeah.
good.
Yeah, because
And
that one I feel like is a more reasonable elemental plane to have a campaign in, since like some of the elemental planes, you just go there, you die instantly. But that one's one that I'd argue some survivability. And the swamp element is a terrifying idea of just a giant Shrek OC.
Like the fucking elemental plane of ice is so fucked where it's like it gets so cold that even light stops. So it's like even light freezes. So
Interesting.
it becomes a
That's
thing where
crazy.
it's just like you have to keep moving forward in order to see. Um
Oh yeah.
mhm.
Huh. I have kind of a question because it's something that I immediately think to undervalue, but the location is kind of cool, and there's a lot of methods from like dust and smoke,
Mm.
Yeah.
which is just a mix of like earth and air or fire and air, I think. But because it is technically like in One Piece, you have the people who have like the elemental devil fruits,
And
and there's a guy that has
we
a
made it 15
like a
minutes about talk about One Piece. Let's go. Guys.
15 minutes. Well, the smoker's a good example of how interesting that type of power is, where it's normally good for like blinding and choking people out and just abrasions on the skin. Because if you get those tiny particles moving, you're like a living asteroid field, and you could just fucking destroy things. But it's weird to try and apply that to a campaign or like a monster or anything more than just it being like suffocating, I guess.
Yeah. Um. I don't know, because also have to think: would the smoke inherently have any heat to it? Because you can't have smoke without fire. So I'm nearly wondering if it'd somehow be like a passive gas, or like it would have a heat of
Acid gas.
Pretty passive
Important.
again.
I can't believe I said that. But no, like the point I'm going for, would there be initially like, because when you're close to a fire and like that smoke hits you like that, and that's like a
Yeah.
heat wave that wants to knock you back, burn your eyebrows based on how hot it is. So I'm nearly wondering if like there'd be some residual, just like atmospheric damage of just the presence of it.
Yeah, because it's just like burning air.
Yeah.
That does make me wonder if like an earth method and a fire method kissed. Would they just explode and turn into like little
I
dust
guess it depends
minutes? Or
on the consistency of the method. Like, is it like cause
how
I guess
thoroughly they're kissing? Is that what you're asking?
no, because it's like if the earth method is like super dry, maybe. But what if it's like a muddy like earth method?
Yeah, because in Baldur's Gate, were they mud methods
Get her
or
mud
like
methods in the sewer.
Yeah, there are mud methods.
booger methods? Yeah, I just remember them being nasty little guys.
Yeah, they were sickly little dudes that were just bathing in the sewer, drinking the
Methods
water.
are such a fun one of just like they could legit just be fucking anything. Like you could just make whatever the fuck up. It doesn't. I've seen people just not even do like elemental shit. Like you said, booger method, and I'm like, I swear I've seen somebody throw that in there somewhere. There was a gold method in fucking in Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah,
Really?
Really?
yeah. There's a if you fight the lady,
Hold on.
you know the place where you go to the House of Hope.
Yeah.
They summon like a bunch of golden enemies. If you fight the lady there, and I did because I'm an idiot, and I fought like a golden minotaur, and there was like a golden method and like a bunch of like gold enemies, and it's like a thing where it made me question too because I'm like, is this actually a method or is this a construct that looks like a method?
I think it's a mimicry of a method. I don't
Yeah.
think because if it turns into a minotaur too, that's not like, oh, is this a real
Yeah.
minotaur but it's made of gold?
Yeah,
I think-
yeah.
Arguably, gold, as malleable as it is, could probably be a functioning elemental, though.
It's just a type of earth elemental, yeah. As long as you because if you have smoke methods, that means you have merging methods of like they can be two different elements. So you could go really far. I do want to say methods are very visually disappointing to me because they look like if
Just a little goblin.
Eustace
like
Bag
imps
was an
to-
imp,
Yeah.
like Eustace.
Yeah, I guess they are.
With a slight redesign, I think they would be a lot of fun if they just looked a little bit different.
I think that's the big reason why I don't use methods very often. Is they don't
Yeah, genuinely.
visually like
I don't want to have my players talk to that guy for very long.
I've technically used a mimic stat block for something, but it was a very specific like thing where it was just there was like an inky type of let me fucking see if I could fucking find the thing, but it was basically like an inky type of dude that spawned like a bunch of weird creatures. They kept having like a distinct thing of they had this weird creepy like inky smile. It looked like this, but
Was it Jeff the Killer?
No,
Oh.
it was not Jeff the Killer, but they like it kept summoning. Oh, I have a here. I just labeled it as an imp, but it was just basically like shit like that, where it's like it would create different enemies out of this like inky gunk, and like one of the things that came out were these weird little imp things. So it just had like this big creepy smile, and they would burst like a mimic when they or like a method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Huh.
You're now giving me the idea that I think that'd be a fun gimmick for an elemental dies and it bursts into a bunch of methods.
That'd be kind of fun.
One thing I'm noting, reading through methods here, is that they have personalities based on the loose, like human-ascribed concepts to these elements. So a mud method is like slow and complains a bunch, and a smoke method just blows hot air. It lies all the time. So do they just kind of do elementals start to form around our idea of how those elements work? Because that's how the outer planes work, like the far outer planes.
That's a really good question because I've thought about that before too, where it's just like, is this because there again when there's like a personality to these things, it does make me question like where did they get this from? It feels odd to me to think like a Zorn just forms and it's just like talking like a normal person or something, or just acting because Zorn are willing to communicate with people and like maybe like make trades.
Like trade,
oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
because it's
you
described
have,
that
like,
even if they're going to fight you, they're going to be really tricky and cowardly about it.
or
'Cause
like
they're like little guys who want gemstones and precious metal. And I don't think that's another question because it's not listed. Constructs don't have to eat, sleep, or breathe.
no.
That's not true for elementals. That's not actually a trait.
The Zorn just does it because it wants to.
Yeah.
Well, no, like they do technically have to eat.
Oh, they do have to eat.
Yeah. I actually never thought about that part of them before. That's really weird.
That's interesting because then like that feeds more into that idea of like what? Well, because even salamanders poop. Salamanders poop, and they
Is it like a resource?
It's a thing of no. Well, actually, I don't. Actually, I think it is maybe because
I'm gonna get myself a handful of salamander poop.
Because there's like a whole thing of like their biology where it's like, oh yeah, you know the little peaks and stuff that are all over the salamanders, they have excretions that come out of that. So they like they don't necessarily like poop or pee, they just kind of like excrete like whatever
refuse. They
but it
garbage.
means that they eat and they fucking
they have like a biological process.
Yes,
like digestive tract sort of. That's so weird. Because if you go further out, like all the way to the edge of, say, the elemental plane of Earth, where it just becomes mountains taller than anything in reality, and there's nothing on them but dirt guys made of dirt not moving. Is it like the closer you get to the material plane, the more hungry you get? I don't.
Because it does make me also think of. Oh, go ahead, Chuck.
I'm nearly wondering how would an elemental consume, but then I think about fire would be easy to explain because fire's got to get stoked. It needs material to keep burning. So you really wonder if elementals have a process like that where they either derive a nutrient from the general plane itself, kind of like a plant would, just from deriving it from the earth. Because I think theoretically they could absorb inorganic material and just keep getting bigger or stronger from that, or just.
Well, that's what Galabdur do.
What do Galabdur do?
Galabdur eat rocks, and they don't necessarily like poop or anything. They just
Oh,
get bigger.
Gallagher, yeah.
Yeah, Galabdur just eat other rocks, and they'll just like slowly like grow bigger and become like a bigger Galabdur,
Did you guys know that rocks eat? Like real rocks?
like
I'm not
actual
even-
rocks.
Yeah, like crystals, when they form, they're grabbing the materials around them, and that's how they grow. So, like, sometimes obviously you have these shifting materials where it's a chemical reaction that causes that sort of like digestion.
Yeah.
But certain things just start to grow by compiling the environment around them.
Oh,
I
okay.
get stalactites and stalagmites, but
Oh,
Well,
that's
that's
from
just the moving of sediment. I mean, genuinely, rocks over time can expand, like physically consuming small pieces of the environment around them. That's how crystals grow. Like you can grow a crystal in a petri dish and it gets bigger.
oh, we're gonna get
Oh.
rich, boys.
I'm gonna go feed my diamond a cheeseburger and get it bigger.
I fed my diamond nothing but Frank's Red Hot and Flaming Hot Cheetos. It's gonna be a ruby, I tell you.
That genuinely makes me think that like fire elementals should get smaller over time and earth elementals get really fucking big.
Well, there are really big. That is honestly because that's interesting because it does make me think of some fire elementals and how they just handle certain stuff. Like it is, I would imagine a fire elemental would want to eat. You know what? If it kind of makes me think of that isn't D&D related is fucking in that Ghibli movie,
Sorry.
the fucking Calcifer. Remember Calcifer
Oh, I
from?
love Calcifer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very powerful fire demon.
Powerful. Oh yeah.
He has to he has to eat stuff in order to keep burning.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that idea with I could see that being a thing for certain elementals where it's just like, oh, they have to consume, which is also then like a question of like if there is I guess that rule just doesn't apply to some of them. I guess they're just like in eternal flame, and that's why you'll have like constructs just basically running on like an infinite power source.
Yeah.
Because even the sun's eventually gonna die, and nothing that we've ever did will matter or have any retained history. But
Exactly. Just
yeah, but we're talking about D&D monsters right now. That's what's important.
can I ask a stupid question?
Of course
Sure.
you can, Logan. Ask
Why
me.
is the sun burning?
It's a big ball of gas.
Oh, it's just combustive gas.
I mean, that's
and just it's pressure because it's the heaviest thing in the solar system. It's dragging everything else in. So that's
all like basically like
yeah.
I'm no fucking.
It's a fundamental question that the smartest people have to ask the dumbest things first, and then they get.
From what I understand, it's just basically like it's a big ball of gas that's fucking.
Yeah, it's a combustion engine just causes pressure on gas until it pops and explodes.
That's why it eventually. Well, it's not going to necessarily die. It's more so going to grow even bigger. It's going to turn into like a red sun, and it's going to basically like the rest of the fucking solar system.
The lifespans are weird. He's just like growing his own food on this little rock.
It's like when people say the sun's gonna explode, it's more so like it's gonna get fucking bigger.
And then it's gonna get real small, and then it's gonna turn into a black hole.
Yeah.
I forget the actual life cycle. What happens after a star burns out? Is that relevant to elementals?
I think
it makes a candy after that.
Oh yeah, and you feed it to your Pokemon and level up. That's right.
Because I know the final stage is basically like a white dwarf where it just becomes like a tiny little star, and
That's fucking awesome.
It's not as hot. I used to.
I think dwarves are hot. I don't know.
Yeah, it becomes a sexy little white dwarf.
Yeah, they can either turn into a white dwarf, a black hole, or a neutron star, depending on their life cycle.
Fun fact: I used to be part of a planetarium club.
You fucking nerd.
Yeah, I was.
I'm from the home of NASA, and I'm not even doing that.
We had a big planetarium where I was at, and it was pretty cool. We used to play Smash Brothers on the fucking planetarium dome.
Rocks, dude.
It was fucking awesome. But regardless, I learned like a tiny few things, and it kind of stuck with me. But I don't remember a ton. I know the constellations. I can see Orion's belt, but so can everybody else, especially that little.
I can see what's under Orion's belt.
It's his cock.
He does have a sword at the
He
side.
does have a little fucking dingle dangle. Yeah,
Orion's cock.
Right.
The Orion elemental.
God.
Can we just start calling him Ryan?
Fucking
Look up in the sky. That's Orion's cock.
alien comes out and he's just like Orion's cock. It's like,
Yeah.
what? And he's just like,
Oh, I laughed so hard to scare the cat off.
But yeah, no, like it's an interesting idea to think of the anatomy in a sense of an elemental, because it's just like, can they really be just infinite energy? Wouldn't they like?
I
Wouldn't
like
they
to
eventually
imagine.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I said it. I really like that idea. I kind of like the idea of them passively taking in energy and life, kind of like through like a photosynthesis type method, like just being on their plane. But once they get on the material plane, that's when, oh no, their energy supply has been cut off. I'm mad. I need to get back home so I don't die by starvation.
Yeah, honestly, that could make sense. Is like they might last really long because of like elemental connection, but it might just be a thing of like they want out because they're like basically being starved.
I think it's not that they're severed; it's that they become a conduit to the like plane that they're in. So they're like teleported somewhere completely different, and we not only kind of make them slaves when you summon them. You are stealing energy from that material plane, and he's like, "I don't want this. I don't want to be here. This is weird." I have in my campaign. There's an entire sort of hydroponic city that function. It's called Kling Klang, and it has this huge piston that goes like up and down, and it just has this constant waterfall that cycles down and flows across the whole city, and that's how they do like deliveries and stuff. And then in the furthest area, it's this enormous irrigation system. So they're like the main wine export, the main food export, and no one has ever asked the question, "Hey, what make that thing go Kling Klang?" The name of the city itself is based on a gigantic enslaved water elemental below the city that's like chained up, and the party went to a like hot spring that's run by tiny elementals, and they're like, "Hey, help him."
He's hurt.
He keeps crying. It sucks.
This is water or his tears.
But it's funny if the party is like, "Yeah, we'll go help him." They obliterate an entire city. Everything's done. Yeah.
It's no.
I might have them do that because there's a war going on.
That'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we made it to my stupid question of the week. I don't know if we did it last week, but yeah. So,
I think
what would be the stupidest thing you think would be a viable elemental?
I did like the idea of a void elemental because it's like you have material and matter, and then you have blank space. So you just have an anti elemental. What would be stupid? It would have to be naturally occurring.
So like could be a black hole elemental maybe, but
that is stupid. Just a density elemental, a time elemental.
Black hole elemental shows up. The game stops. Everything is absorbed.
Yeah.
Like
There's a time elemental and a space elemental. The space elemental can't move.
It's a radiation elemental. You see.
Because I think like at least one that probably wouldn't break the game completely might be a vacuum elemental, and it's literally just like in the movie where you see an airlock get opened and everyone's nearly getting sucked out.
It just sucks everyone off. Yeah.
You just have Kirby show up like fucking. That's a Galabdur turned into a vacuum elemental.
Galabdur ate so many rocks he turned into a sun.
He goes, "I'm so hungry."
Hot holes, and it turned me into this. Oh no!
Stupid joke. The moon is full tonight, and it's just like, oh fuck!
Oh fuck!
Get away! Don't! I'll turn into. Oh,
fucking oh man.
Because it would have to be physical. I was thinking, like, could you do any concept, like a numerical, a mathematical mental?
Ew,
No.
no.
That's gay. Yeah.
Yeah. Take your smarts out of here, Logan.
No, that's not smart. That's stupid.
Because, like, honestly, there's a lot of really interesting takes on elementals. Like, I forget things. Gargoyles are fucking elementals, and that's a whole.
They're not constructs?
Gargoyles are elementals, aren't they?
Yeah. I think they're constructs because they were like fashioned that way.
Medium elemental. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, yeah, they're elementals. They're rockmen.
This isn't my Keith David fantasy.
Have like a plasma elemental because I was looking at like the list of elements and then I was like, oh wait, the crystal gems from.
Honestly, that's another thing I was thinking about as well because I wanted the topic of having them eat.
It just appears with elemental. Yeah, because they don't eat. Well, they're projections of like static energy. A sulfur elemental would be sick.
That would fuck you up so bad.
Yeah. Like a plutonium elemental.
No, because there are some elementals that would just be fucking unfair. Where it's just like sulfur, you just get him trapped in a room. It's a sulfur elemental guy. He doesn't have to fucking do anything. He doesn't have to do anything. He's just sitting there. He's like, "Hey guys, oh shit, oh fuck, oh no."
It'd be kind of saved radiation elemental, where just like you're just stuck there melting. Like, well, no.
What if the invisible assassin is just a carbon monoxide elemental? It just hovers over you and you die without knowing it's there.
It just stands in your place and you just start having trouble breathing. It's just like
I think it's the only way to die where like you don't even realize you're dying.
Yeah, no, literally.
So you're just like, I feel a little lightheaded.
Oh. A little lightheaded.
A neon elemental would dissipate instantaneously.
Yeah. I don't know if the second sun makes me want to think that at work.
You get jumped by a helium elemental. You just fucking.
Oh yeah, because you're like really high pitch.
It's a combination of like he's picking you up at the same time they're making you into a chipmunk.
Yeah. So real quick, just to tie up on a early thing, yes, in every single edition, gargoyles are considered elementals.
God damn.
I'll have to look them up.
Which is weird, again, because it is an elemental that is taking the shape of something man-made.
Yeah.
So it does kind of make me beg the question of whether or not elementals start to shape themselves off of the ideas of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where they evolve with culture. Where like everyone mimetically decides that smoke is like has something to do with diligence. I think that would change the nature of those methods to where they're less like liars and they're more. So that's super interesting.
Well, because I guess if you look at elementals at their literal base, there is a point where if they start, because even I think of genies are elementals, and that's a whole thing where it's like the idea of a genie forming comes out of a group of elementals that get so powerful or to a point where they just kind of become aware of themselves. So it's like the base idea of like, oh, there's a bunch of wind elementals together and they just form into a body and they just decide, oh, this is what I want now. Or, well, then again, it's off of also sometimes there is a person spirit that gets mixed in that. So there is somebody who will, because that's some lore idea of like where genies come from is like a spirit passing through the elemental plane. So it becomes plane touched and it ends up looking like a person.
Oh, so you genuinely, that could be like an afterlife that they're not aware of. Yeah, where instead of getting to heaven, you're just a genie now, huh?
And it's a weird thing of just, there's like this idea of basically you could see this genie later on and it looks just like the person who died, but they have no memory of who they were, but they might have some of their mannerisms and they might have some of their like
the same goal that they had in life, sort of. That's cool.
They might have some like echoes of that person from the past. Like it's just like, oh yeah, they really liked I don't know, like they liked making trinkets or something like that, and it's like, oh, this one just has this is like a specific thing that they like to collect or something, or they'll find artisans to make stuff for them, and it's just this that weird echo of a person. So it is kind of that idea, I guess, of
That might
some
be
sort of human influence. Go
that
ahead.
might be possible if you were actually like a member of an elemental cult. Maybe your soul would go to an elemental plane when you pass
Ooh,
away.
Like a
yeah.
transcension thing.
Yeah,
That
Yeah,
actually is so funny, realizing that all mortals eventually go to different planes, and a lot of like if you go to hell, you have the chance to become a pit fiend in 1,000 years.
Mhm.
People who choose to become lich are fucking stupid.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's like this is the only one I know. So I'll stay here.
Well,
I
and
think
also
the
like
difference-
that it's like an idea of like the ultimate arrogance of like there's nothing better than what I have going on right now,
Yeah.
and I'm going to keep that going.
I think the difference with it is just even then, like even though you have potential to become something else in the afterlife, you're not really going to be you anymore. Like it's like if you
That's
become
true.
it's you're not going to remember your past goals unless you do something. And I guess that's the idea of the lich of just like I want to stay me. I don't want to
Yeah,
turn
turn into
into
something.
something
That's
else,
so
which is
interesting.
also
It's because that's the life cycle. It like recycles who you are and what you are, and that's like the same set of souls are always in all the planes.
Right.
I have my answer for stupidest elemental. I pick the laser elemental.
Well, that would
laser.
rock. What do you mean, stupidest?
He just he can't really attack you. He just keeps blasting your eyes. He keeps blinding you. He's
A
bouncing
lightning-
off the walls.
Imagine being like a sick ass wizard who just summons sort of like an assassin laser elemental, and then the moment you summon it, the guy you're targeting dies, and then it goes away.
Oh,
'Cause it's
fuck. He goes. He starts like pewing
speed of
everyone.
light. Yeah, the pew pew lizard,
Yeah.
wizard, laser lizard wizard. Yes.
That'd be awesome, actually. All right, Mario, what is your answer?
I like the sulfur elemental idea.
That just sucks. That's
That
just
just fucking sucks. That's just fucking mean. It's like
Yeah.
I would never use that on people, but because I remember
D&D
shout out
stat
to
block,
Box.
it kills you.
I remember I was going to say shout out to Box, who a long while back
We love box
I
too.
wanted to wanted to use an aboleth, and I was coming up ideas with an aboleth layer, and they were like, just have like a sulfur room because it could survive that, where it's just like it could get like past that and
You mean
like stay in the
sulfuric
water.
acid specifically, right?
Oh no,
Or-
like or but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing. It's like an idea of like some gas or something like that, where it's just like
Yeah.
like it's just it could just stay in the water and not be affected. So it would be like this idea of just oh, the players could get fucked up, or maybe it's like the idea of like it could be in the, I forget what the fuck it was. It was like an idea of like, oh, there could be a layer of this air pocket, or not air but like a gas pocket under the water, so if the players try to follow it, they'll start suffocating. And I was like, that's a good idea. I'm not gonna use that because that's way too fucking
Yeah.
mean.
That's an evil bait and switch that would be very fitting for like an aboleth, really.
It makes sense, but also I don't want to do that to my players.
Yeah, you could have any sort of acidic elemental if it has like the right compounds and you expose it. Like if you splash one with like the, you could just have an explosion elemental sort of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
That would be
I had a
awesome.
Rap a mental.
Like a earth elemental that's made of like a mineral that is explosive when it reacts to like impact. So you swing a sword at it and your sword blows off your hand.
It
Oh my
could be
God.
a black powder elemental.
Oh,
Yeah, gunpowder elemental.
Yeah.
Gunpowder elemental, just fucking.
That'd rock.
It's not there for. It's there.
Here's
for,
my power. It dies.
Yep. That's the American elemental. It's a gunpowder elemental.
It show. It
Firework
gets summoned and it sneezes. It's like. Oh,
Cut to a wide shot. Wizard Tower falling over like 9/11.
Elminster, they hit the second tower.
turn on the orb. It doesn't matter what.
Jet fuel can't melt those stone beams.
We're announcing the war on the red wizards that who are taking out the second tower.
No more flying on your dragons. Get back in your house.
Take his jacket away. Don't.
Okay, so mine is I really like the idea of this kind of like it seems like human thought, nearly a Carl Jung idea of just a collective unconsciousness affecting the outer planes, which is an idea I really do like. Since usually for a lot of the outer planes, our belief is what gives light, and our minds is what gives power to those other planes. I really like the idea, despite the joke I made earlier, of an actual alcohol elemental.
I've heard somebody bring up something like that of just
That's
like
cool.
fucking. It just gets your party drunk. Like
It actively debuffs and poisons your party just from alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
One of the genie summons in Baldur's Gate has like an alcohol breath
Oh.
where he like breathes at you and it makes everyone drunk.
All right, I like this.
Yeah, that's a fun idea.
All right, being the Southern boy I am, I have to make the Jack Daniels elemental now.
Jack.
He's just got like a floating bottle in his chest with the label.
Trademark. He has a beard despite being an elemental.
His bludgeoning attack is he just brings the bottle to his hand, hits you over the head, and
He just smashes the bottle over your fucking head.
he's like, Dad.
Hey, I'm Jack the Elemental, and this is my buddy Glassy, the Glass Elemental. All right, let's glass him.
He's a little shot glass elemental. He just throws himself at you. A glass elemental would be pretty. I made that actually, and
Fucking mean with that. Well, not mean really, but it's like because imagine like mixing a wind elemental with a glass elemental.
yeah, that's like a type of dust elemental. Technically,
Yeah, it's just it's just one in your throat.
That's something I feel like doesn't get explored enough. Is just like I know that became like a hazard at one point where my party cast a poison spell on a water elemental, not thinking about it. Now there's just poison bubbling inside the water elemental. Then when it uses engulf ability, they're getting poisoned as well, and they're like, God dang it.
God fuck it, damn it. If you shot lightning at a water elemental, is it hurt by it? Is it weakened by it?
I think yes. Because it would burn it up technically. Lightning is similar to fire.
I do.
Lightning elemental.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning
I have a
elemental
homebrew rule where basically if you hit anything in water or touching water at all with a lightning spell or ability, it just deals an extra damage die to it. So that's kind of how I've done it with water elementals.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it would be a situation where it's like, well, now it's electrified.
Yeah.
I was kind of flavoring since the instantaneous thing, it just kind of rapidly vaporizes the water was kind of my thought on it.
It would be grounded. Like the lightning would shoot into the ground and just get negated. But if it was grabbing somebody or like was suffocating you, you just take the same amount of damage.
Yeah.
Well,
I just had a thought. What if you had a gasoline elemental?
That'd be kind of interesting.
That's just the lazy man's fire elemental. It takes one extra step, or that's the opposite.
Well, no, because it's like a gas, so it's like this fucking like
it rapidly oxidizes too, so he would just like shrink over time.
Yes, you summon it and it just starts shrinking, and it's just like it's just quickly trying to suffocate you, and like someone just lights a match and throws it on.
But then it's a fire elemental.
Yeah.
Second stage. But I'll just
You've activated my second form, fool.
You just start doing some bullshit alchemy. You summon one type of elemental, like a water elemental. You throw a bunch of dirt inside of him, and he's a mud elemental now. You just start doing random shit and changing its nature. That'd be fun.
Yeah, becomes Caribou from One Piece.
The elemental's just like, stop! Stop!
So dirty.
I forgot what I originally was made of.
I don't even know what I have anymore.
I can't go home anymore. I'm tainted.
The alchemimental.
Because there's also like an interesting thing to think on if like you look at things like dragons or giants, for example, being connected to elemental kind of stuff. Like you have storm giants, frost
the breath
giants,
weapons, and
and they're like, I know dragons themselves are kind of like a elemental connect, or they have like some weird like elemental magic connected to them. in the sense of just
Yeah.
they can because they can just fire shit out. Um, there's
Yeah, it
also
is magic that they're using.
Mhm.
Mm.
They're like Cyclops. All of them just have a little like
Yeah,
gland
they all
that is a
Yeah.
portal to that plane.
There
they
we
all
go.
have concussive force.
I want to go to the plane of lightning. Are you kidding?
Oof.
Tased.
That that's been so fun making elementals for the border planes. Like I got a lightning and an acid and an ice elemental I use, and they are
Yeah,
so
acid
fun.
would suck.
Yeah,
That just is like the sulfur one.
because the idea I kind of had for them is they are, because of how rare they are, they had less competition, so they just ended up being bigger and stronger just kind of by default over regular elementals. And
Huh.
um, that's
Yeah.
that's kind of thought I had it being rarer, a little more powerful like that. But yeah, acid elemental functions similar to water, except it engulfs you in acid. So yeah,
Kind of like an ooze.
and lightning is kind of like the glass cannon of it's faster but takes more damage and
Ah, I see.
a little harder hits. And ice is kind of just a real tanky earth elemental that mainly just fires icicles at people and just jabs people.
The ice cube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
All
never
right,
really
we've
did
covered all our
swamp
bases, I
elemental.
think.
I need to, but yeah.
That's caribou from One Piece. It is a Logia fruit that he has, isn't it?
Mm,
Like his whole body is an entire swamp.
I think that'd be paramecia though.
No, because it affects his body structure.
No,
Is the forest guy? He's a Logia too.
um,
Green Bull.
let's see.
Oh.
Caribou, wet-haired caribou alive. God dang it.
Oh, he is a Logia. He's a Logia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fist.
you're right,
Yeah.
Logia.
It's a
Huh.
swamp. So you have like
Swamp.
locations tied into that. So you could have sort of like a sand elemental who just embodies the desert itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know. I
Elementals,
was like,
honestly. Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of half asleep and I couldn't fucking think of anything at the beginning of this. And now I'm like, man, that's everything. You could do anything.
Well,
Yeah,
it's like
I like-
literally. It's kind of the idea of just like it's that old idea of everything is made out of earth, wind, fire, and earth. Kind of. It's this thing of the elementals could be fucking anything.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to define what an elemental is, start the video, just because an elemental can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you establish what seems to be right, that they're trying to replicate real things. Because looking at Azure lore, it seems, just from what we're reading, that all of us are young bucks. Well,
Our theory was right.
Azers have nothing to do with dwarfs; they just resemble dwarfs.
They just look like dwarves.
Like how gargoyles look just like gargoyles.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like the construct that I've been running as constructs my
Somebody-
entire D&D career, and I'm going to keep doing it. You can't
Somebody
stop me. You're
made a
always gonna keep
gargoyle
doing
and they
Yeah, and the gargoyles were like, "That's me, though." Or
Yeah.
another guy was like, "Is that real?" And the gargoyles were like, "We are now."
like it kind of makes me think of I did a thing in a recent game where I had I had this whole thing of like stone giants that were able to manipulate rocks and things by animating them into Galabdur. And there was a point where one of the stone giants, like in the area that they were in, the stone giants were just these librarians that were keeping old records, but one of them got like fucked with through like messing with some abyssal artifact kind of thing. And since he turned like aggressive towards the party, he had this moment where he like reached out towards two Galabdur, he smushed them together, and he became this fucking big gargoyle thing and started fighting the party. So it was like it's like this idea of just at the end they're just fucking rocks, so you could kind of shape them into whatever. So in a sense, I kind of picture like gargoyles are the product of these elementals just deciding, I want to look like that now.
Yeah,
It's pretty sick.
that's really interesting. In Attack on Titan, doesn't Ymir, who's the goddess of giants, like in that she forms all of the titans by hand out of mud.
Yeah, she does.
So is there just like a pure elemental in each plane crafting all the others? That'd be kind of cool. where it like hears about what humans are doing, and it's like, I'm gonna make one of those.
I think some greater elementals do like start to fuck with other elementals and make them other
Huh.
things. I'm not entirely sure. I might be pulling that out of my ass.
Eh,
Um,
I like
but
the
I
idea
love
of just
to use
like
that.
an elemental like mother spawning all of them and shaping them.
mm.
But she ran out of ideas, so she's like, "What's a dwarf?" Ah, yeah, okay. I'll make
That's
a dwarf, but like better.
Yeah,
what
Fuck.
if I made them cooler?
because
Hmm.
that's kind of my setting thing, Primordia, where it's literally just the
Mhm.
goddess made just like the concept of the world and just kind of left it alone and comes back and elementals just kind of naturally spawned from the world and started creating their own little guys and eventually made the plane and they're just like,
Love
oh,
that lore.
oh shoot, I guess we're making dwarfs now.
I guess dwarves are on the menu.
I thought this was an elf factory.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because that's kind of the fun idea I've had of literally just like one elemental's like, I'm going to make this big guy on fire, and then the greater water elemental's like, oh, well, screw you. I have my own guy here, except he is icy. I don't need
It's like a
you.
playground contest.
Yeah.
Like, my elemental's better than your elemental.
My elemental. Let me.
My little human is autistic and makes the most powerful weapons in the land.
Oh yeah, well mine is a powerful weapon, and also he has an extra arm on his back.
My mommy said.
I'm just thinking of that one video of just like the most powerful autistic dwarfs made my weapon.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
it was this blade was fashioned by the most autistic dwarf, so you know it's good.
Is that from something? What is that?
Yeah, that's from an animation. Some guy did it recently.
I know Logan's had to see it before. We'll have to show you after the video's over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll show it to you after, but it's funny. He's done like barbarian animation stuff too.
Yeah.
Like a Chad barbarian like killing Strahd.
Oh yeah, okay. I've seen some of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those videos
That's
are so
pretty
good.
He does
I'll
pretty
have to
funny
binge
videos.
So
But
I kind yes, Dungeon Soup who made it, but I kind of said
Mhm.
mine. But I'm wanting to know. So I'm stealing your normal question, Logan. Sorry. What
Go
that's
how do y'all use elementals mainly in y'all settings?
I like them just being this sort of super, like, very natural occurrence where they've been around for the longest time, like older than anyone else, but they don't have ambition. They don't have any goals, so they're just like ancient primordial things that you can't get any information from. You can only get help if you like really force it or if you do a favor for the elemental. And I don't know. They're super amorphous. I like the idea of having them any size or scale, like any technical mix of elements. But I don't really give them like too much of a brain or a soul. They're really good because they don't really talk. They're good at communicating basic story ideas to the party.
Yeah, I feel like that's the role they fit in really well. And if you want that, you should really just either use a greater elemental or an Ifrit if that's the flavor you want to go for.
Yeah,
Well,
but
not
just you
Ifrit,
can
but like
make them cute because they have to communicate to the party in like weird physical ways. They're like little mimes.
yeah.
my my idea with elementals tends to be that at the start initially elementals were like you said, like they didn't really have any drive to them. They didn't really have it. Like they just kind of were. They just kind of existed.
Yeah, I
And
like
it
that.
wasn't until similar like my idea would be like similar to the Feywild having a moments where it's just like, oh, these things can like certain things can slip through or certain things can slip in. There might be a situation with the elemental plane where it's just like, oh, something just kind of sinks in with the material plane. So maybe some elemental slips out. And when that happens and they start interacting with things around them, they might become tainted by that place by like in that same sense of technically an elemental can shape themselves into whatever.
It's
It
like
would
anything else that touches them is what gives them sort of like
not even
personality.
necessarily like touching them. It's more just like watching how things exist. Like the idea that there are elementals that are kind of human like even like a Galabdur. The idea might just be like, oh, this thing just saw a guy walking around. It doesn't know much about like this person or anything, but it just kind of gets the idea of like, damn, legs would be nice. I should do that. And so it's just
Huh.
like it starts to like take on little features. Like I like that idea specifically, even with Galaptur, because I've used them a lot. Is just
Yeah.
the thought of they haven't had much time to really like learn from people, just out of rocks kind of like there is a thing to like the earth. I guess there are like echoes of personality to some of these elementals, but the idea of an earth elemental just taking it slow and easy, it's just like, yeah, I just kind of fashioned these legs and I just decided to lay down on a mountainside. And sometimes when people walk by, I might pick up little words here and there. I don't know what they mean. At most, people sometimes, like, there's a joke that I kind of have in my setting of the only word that most Galabdur know is just rock, and it's just because somebody might like look at it and just go, "Oh, that's a rock" or something like that, or
I just hear that word the most.
they'll hear that word the most, and it's just like a thing of like when somebody starts talking to it, it just goes rock or something like that. It's trying to communicate. It's just
You
like
just
the
hear
most,
heavy metal in the background.
yeah, rock. It's this thought of it just fucking one day decided to kind of take on like little appendages, and it just still just like it'll just be like, oh, this is nice to move around. Anyways, I'm gonna just sit here and like stare at the sky or something. And but in that same sense, that's where like my genies come from, out of some elementals from a long time ago. Just saw people and started to act like them or something, and it just tried to.
I genuinely love how simple, like simple concepts that don't need to be complicated because they're so founded, and just having an elemental be, I saw something else and I kind of wanted to be it.
Yeah.
That's it. So I just
Yeah.
started.
So I saw a person once, so I just decided
Me
let
too.
me try to mingle with
Me
them.
too. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, honestly, it's like you're just somebody alone, and you just decided, "Hey, man, what's going on?"
It's like the opposite of personification, or is that what it's called when you like
No, it is literally
give an object to a soul? Yeah,
it's been personified. Like it's like a it's
persona.
been given like a persona. Yeah, okay. Persona.
I'm gonna become a rock. I'm gonna do it the other way.
Rock.
Yeah, no, it's the idea that some of these things end up developing these traits, and what's funny with that is my thought process from there would be these things eventually have to go back to the elemental plane, because again it's like this is their place of their fuel source, so they just decide, okay, we're gonna go back, and them coming from the material plane start to bring some of these ideas back to it, and it causes these other like smaller elementals that don't have the connection of the outside kind of having
So
their own
interesting.
takes on it. So they end up becoming these other things like salamanders or Azer. Even
Mhm.
it's just like I could picture in a freak just being like, oh man, I saw those dwarf things and I thought those were cool. Let me make one here. So they just
Yeah.
Mhm.
fucking like form it into something like a dwarf or something like that.
Yeah, because that's kind of my setting where it's the whole idea is basically just this goddess like just was a creator and didn't really think about the consequences of things, made like the concept of elements and just like the base planes, and it's like, yeah, this is neat, I had fun doing this, and just kind of forgot about her projects, then came back to check on them later, and it's like, oh no, these things have gone out of control.
Uh oh.
as um as yeah, it just became like a big one-up contest of just like, I made this giant lizard. Well, I made another giant lizard, but it's mine.
I
Yeah,
picture that in the Mr. Beast voice of like, I made this giant lizard.
Giant lizard.
But yeah, yeah, it's like the thought, like that's definitely where my dragons come from too, where it's just fucking genies came back to the material plane. They see dinosaurs or some shit, or maybe they saw dinosaurs a long time ago, and they're like, let's try to make that again.
yeah,
Like what if I made it better?
yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, there
that's
was
cool.
but yeah, basically personified a lot of elements, made them things, and then their creations got tired of getting ruled over them and just killed them. So now all that's
Yeah.
left is is the remains of them, which is just basically the primal elementals that roam the land now.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like the idea I had. Is I don't know. Is it all started from elements, then it just kind of developed and changed from there. So
I
Yeah,
love that.
honestly.
yeah,
That's free.
that was my fun little idea. That was the. That was it.
No, like it's like Logan was saying, it's really nice where it's just like it's really just that simple thought of just these things were like, what if I was like that? What if
Yeah.
I?
I want to be like you. Ooh, ooh.
I think it's fun,
Well,
and at the least, I like elementals fitting that role. I just kind of, I don't know, that's the direction I went for my setting. I like it. It's fun, but
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, me too, for sure. It's beautiful.
I
That's a
appreciate it.
beautiful
Y'all
thing.
feel free to praise me more.
Okay, whip
Chuck,
out that
think it's
thing.
really cool.
Wait, no. You got to get the Patreon exclusive episode.
That's right, we already filmed that. I'm sorry, forgot.
Oh.
Yeah, don't be giving people ideas.
Yeah.
People are going to think weird things happen to Gen Con.
Some weird stuff. Somebody did describe an interesting thing at Gen Con. We didn't record it.
We don't need to drag a certain baby in D&D storyteller that happened to be named Jacob Crow into this.
Oh yeah, that horrible thing that he did.
That creature that's out there, that fucking fit.
The only thing Jacob Crow's guilty of is being freaking adorable and sweet. I love you, Jacob.
And also doing that thing.
You're least in my top 3 Jacobs.
You're the least of my top 3.
You're the least. All right, let's hear it. Top.
All
three.
right. All right. Now that we're done ranking our Jacobs, let's rank the elementals. How are we feeling about them?
Honestly, 5.
I would say 5.
I think this is aside from Hags, our other perfect 5 elementals. They're just
Yeah.
I think they're just kind
I've
of
heard.
like Hags, that there's just so much you can do with them, and they're so diverse that they're a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly, I like them since I built a whole setting around them. But
Yeah.
that and just I don't know. There's so many interesting ideas they invoke, and just so much creativity that goes into it. Since, as we said, anything can be an elemental, and in that same sense, an elemental can become anything. Since we established that's kind of how they go.
Honestly, so many of the creature typings are literally just extensions of elementals. When I think about it, it's like you got fucking dragons, you got some of the giants, you got fucking like constructs as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact there's an elemental plane of oozes also kind of begs the question of them as well.
Fucking
Stinky garbage sweat elemental.
garbage
And
doo-doo caca elemental.
yeah. Even my magic system, I like the idea of borrowing power from another plane and bringing it here. That's generally how my power system works. Well, just a magic system. I don't really have a weave. I just have you pull power from a plane, like healing magic. You pull from Celestia, stuff like that.
Yeah, instead of having a weave, you just poke holes.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, because I told you that before. That was like,
yeah,
that was a conflict in my world. Is basically that magic is literally tearing the plane apart. Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cool, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're still watching, go get a hot dog right now.
Go get a sweet
On
juicy
me.
hot dog.
I'll pay for it. Just comment on the video and I'll send you $1.
$1.50 hot dog. They're well worth it.
Yeah, if you go to A&W, they have like cheap coney dogs on Tuesdays or Thursdays.
That drives me nuts. I didn't know A&W existed until we went to Gen Con, and Felix, the Canadian, was like, oh yeah, we got them up there. And I'm just like,
That's interesting.
yeah, because then also found out there's an all-American food in Canada. It's like, what, you don't have one of them in your American area? I'm like, no, Felix.
That's so sad.
Clearly, Alabamians aren't Americans.
They don't get the root beer. They just get the Coors.
Get that root beer out there.
We live off that Coors that falls down from the Rocky Mountains and goes all the way down to Alabama, in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Jesus.
Jay.
All right, y'all go get hot dog elemental, hot dog water elemental, if you will. Bye.
Ooh.